Jungle.
Welcome back to another episode of the Liberated Woman podcast. I'm super excited because today I have another guest on my podcast. We've had so many guests recently. It's been beautiful to expand and to hear other women's stories. So today I have Ashley Crooks, and Ashley embodies the true definition of a digital nomad. And over the past 7 years, she's made millions while traveling full time to over 55 countries, which sounds like a total dream to me as a nomad myself. But over the last 5.5 years specifically, she's dedicated her life to creating in a way that feels as good as it looks. And that for me is really true liberation. So I'm excited to have her on to share a little bit about her story and about how she got here and to, yeah, share with you all on this podcast how she's managed to liberate herself whilst traveling to 55 countries, because I think that's many people's dreams. So welcome, Ashley.
Thank you. Thank you. Very excited to be here.
Mhm. Yeah, so maybe just share with us a little bit about your journey, how you managed to get to 55 countries and doing that in a way that felt sustainable for you and what it brought you in that time.
Totally. I've actually been to over 70 countries in total, but really 55 or a little over 55 since starting my business and really, yeah, working from anywhere. About 7 years ago, I ended up getting fired from my job we had an unlimited vacation policy, but I took a vacation and ended up getting fired for it. After that, I decided I would start my entrepreneurial journey. And it was always my dream to be able to work from anywhere and travel the world. Back in 2015, I went and traveled all of South America and Central America and a little bit of Asia. And I was between jobs at that time. So I was really backpacking and budget traveling. And I made a promise to myself that I would figure out a way to make this my reality and to be able to truly just, yeah, work from anywhere and live wherever I wanted to and be able to travel the world. And so that's what I did. So after I got fired from that job, I figured out a way to work online, ended up getting started doing high ticket affiliate marketing. Within 1 year, me and my husband, surpassed both of our corporate salaries. And we said, all right, we're going to go travel. We're going to do it. And so since then, these last 6 years, we've just been traveling all over the world while growing our business. And, in regards to sustainability, it definitely has been. It can be a lot at times moving as fast as we did. The first trip we did was 4 months long. We went to 21 countries. And so that was a lot while running our business as well. Luckily, a lot of our business is automated. We run ads and we have a lot of systems and funnels as well, which really helps. For me, I wanted to be able to be on any time zone and just really be able to go wherever I wanted and have nothing stop me from that. So that's been really amazing to do. And then yeah, with that, while I was traveling, living this amazing life that looked really good from, anyone who saw it on the outside, I just couldn't really let it in. Like I wasn't fully happy. My nervous system wasn't regulated. I had a hard time being grateful for it all and really believing I deserved it and letting it land. And so really these past 5.5 years, while I've been also running my business, I've been really going on this internal journey of really, as you said, finding a way to create a life that feels as good as it looks. I had all these external freedoms, right? I had time, location, financial, lifestyle freedom, but I didn't actually feel free. And so it's really been this evolution of myself these last 5.5 years to really, as the podcast is called, liberate myself
Yeah.
from these societal constraints, from who I thought I was, from the characteristics I thought I had to be, to just really, yeah, being able to enjoy life and feel free. And it's taken a lot of inner work and kind of excavating to get here. But it's really been an amazing journey. And I'm so passionate with sharing it with others now because it's not talked about enough. Like, we think it has to be one way in society or success is one way, but there really is so many more options if we choose to explore them.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that. I think we all desire this feeling of being liberated, and then each level of expansion that you have, it's like you then need to recalibrate your nervous system to actually
Mhm.
be able to hold that and have the capacity
Yes.
to hold it. And that's with anything, whether it's with, if like for me, for example, it's been having a conscious partnership, like that's something that I always desired. And yet being in it, it's like stretching me and expanding me. And like, do I have the capacity to hold this depth of something when I've never experienced that before? You know, for some people, it might be like, wow, I'm suddenly earning X amount of money. Do I have the capacity to hold it? What responsibility does that bring with it? Or the freedom? Oh my goodness, now I have all this freedom. What do I do with the time? You know, like we're so
Mhm.
structure. We're so used to being told what to do. We're so used to having a job that we go to that we're told what to do and when to do it. But like trying to create that for yourself can feel overwhelming. And like, where do you start with that? So I think it's really beautiful journey to say, you know, for anyone, because social media is such a, you know, it can be truthful, but it can also be extremely fabricated. And for anyone who's listening to this podcast, I know a lot of the people in my community, they desire freedom, they desire sovereignty, but just don't know how to get there. And they are liberating themselves. And that's the journey that I take women through as well. But it's like there's evolutions of that liberation, and then there's like another layer of it. So yes, like you said, you could have all the financial freedom in the world and all of the travel in the world and all of the everything in the world, but are you truly free if you're not calibrated and you feel able to hold that? Like I think you mentioned receiving it or feeling grateful for it. um so I'm curious to know, first of all, how did you manage to build a business whilst traveling to so many countries in 4 months? And what was your kind of, I know you said you had funnels and automation and things like that, but what was your, yeah, how did you do it?
Yeah. So the first year of our business, we really said, okay, we're going to not travel. I think we still probably traveled more than most people, but for us, we're going to not travel. We're just going to grind. And I really did. Like I worked really, really hard, didn't give myself time for much else. And I built my business to start like so that I could leave and go travel. So I got it to a point where it was bringing in consistent months and it was, consistently like I had a good flow with it and whatnot. And then once I started traveling, that first trip, like I said, was 21 countries in 4 months. And that was probably the fastest we've moved. We've definitely done a bit slower since then at times, but it was really figuring it out as I went. I had to, I think it forced me, which in a really beautiful way, to figure out a lot of systems that I wouldn't have necessarily pushed myself to had I not been traveling all the time, and help me, yeah, really grow in those areas. And so I think, and then since maintaining those systems as we've consistently traveled over the last 6 years. So, I mean, I think just for anyone listening, I think like a big way to really that we've been able to do it is, reverse engineering, like getting really clear on the life that I wanted to lead and what I wanted that to look like. And then backtracking and saying, okay, now how can we set up our business to support us in this? It was really important to me not to trade my job for another job, but it now being my business. And freedom is my number one value. So I wanted to make sure I always felt that. So really just figuring out what systems and what team members we had to hire and what other things we needed to do to be able to travel and do this. And so we would, during the day, we'd go out and explore and really, yeah, do whatever, we wanted to do in that country. And then depending on the time zone, we would work at different times. So we'd come back when we were in Europe, for example, we'd come back and work at night because that's when the US time, when, people in the US where we're from were up. And then when we were in Asia, we'd do a little work in the morning and then we would go out and explore throughout the day and then come back at night and do a little more work. And we had, ads running, email marketing, that evergreen webinars, a lot of things running for us. So even if we weren't showing up on social media all the time because we didn't have service or we couldn't, my business didn't really require necessarily a lot of one-on-one calls. So I was able to be on all these different time zones and really make it work for me. Which has been really amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds incredible because that means that then you don't have to be the forefront of anything and you can just allow it to work for you rather than you work for it. And I think so many of us, we're like trading money for time and energy for energy and time for money. And I think, yeah, part of that liberation is, yeah, just knowing that, hey, actually, I can be anywhere and this is still running for me in the background. And so, how was it like to do that alongside a partner? How was it like to work with and travel with and build with a partner?
It's funny when I was traveling, I was traveling solo when I went to South America for 7 months, right when my partner and I started uh, dating. And I remember everyone told me, until you travel with your partner, you will never know if you guys can really make it. Like that is the true test. And um, so I was like, okay, we need to see. And we went on our first trip together and it's like, all right, we can do this. Like this works. And then um, for me, I knew I wanted to be able to literally travel 24/7. So I knew I would need to also work with my partner in order for us to really be able to both be able to do that. And yeah, bringing a partner in the mix in a business, spending 24 putting yourself in a lot of challenging situations that most relationships don't deal with. Working together all the time, traveling together, being together, like all of the probably the stickiest situations you could be in is what we go through. So I think it definitely can be very complex. Bringing a partner in it adds a whole nother dynamic to the relationship. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it unless you know that you and your partner can really can work in this way. For me and my husband, we have a lot of complementary strengths, so it does really work for us. There's things he's really good at that I don't really those aren't my areas of strength and I don't necessarily want to do those areas. And same with me, he doesn't really want to do the things that I do in the business. And so it works out really well for us. But it's definitely been a lot of navigating. You have to have really clear communication. You have to really be willing to see the other person's side, be able to take off the business hat and be able to put the relationship hat back on at the end of the day. And really, it's a lot of you're weaving into a lot of different roles. And it definitely, I think overall, can really strengthen a relationship when you know that you can, yeah, when you can share all of this with your partner is really magical. But kind of like you said about a conscious relationship, it definitely takes work and it really takes you each calling each other up.
Yeah, 100%. I think even we're finding that here, like we lived together before we came here, but just, yeah, being in a foreign country, living together, working together, exactly that. Like it bleeds into, your time off and taking off the business hat, putting on the relationship hat. And that's something that we're definitely working through at the moment. That's like definitely a challenge. And I think if you both have business minds, then maybe it's easier. But if it's something that you're venturing out doing for the first time as well, that makes it even more challenging. Um,
Mhm.
because you have to work out like who's doing what and how much effort are you putting in versus the other person and
Totally.
all of those different things. So yeah, I'm really curious to maybe have an offline chat with you about that at some
For
point.
sure.
Um, to see how you
I'd
navigate
love
that
to.
more because that's definitely something that my partner and I are constantly working through and we have different strengths too and it's I'm probably the overworker or was the overworker, the recovering overworker as
Same.
people know in my audience. Yeah, I was like definitely like burnt out overworking,
Mhm.
hyper masculine and learning to soften into like doing less but then allowing the other person to do more. It's hard to let
Mhm.
that go, but it's such a beautiful journey to go on.
Totally.
And so you spoke about calibrating your nervous system to feel safe. And I know that some of the tools that you've used to do that similar maybe to some of the tools that I've used. But what would you say was your most kind of profound way of calibrating your system back?
There's been two that have been really profound for me. Initially, I used to always just can be very in my head, and I especially used to be, and so I would always talk, 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 and it wasn't really getting me anywhere until I really started dropping into my body. And so I would say the two biggest ways have really been somatics. Getting out of the story, going straight into the sensation, and really working with that. And then breath work, which I know you do as well, has been an amazing tool for me to just be able to really, again, get out of my head into my body and, just always really kind of detach from any ickiness I was feeling or stickiness around anything and just really be able to access that, my higher self and a state of being that I didn't typically have access to on the daily and just feel really good and kind of show me what's possible from that place. So I would say those two modalities have been really, really helpful for me.
Yeah, 100% breath work changed my life. I mean, I went, people have listened to my story before, but I lived in a state of freeze for a really long time. And it's like coming using breathwork was the only thing really that fully cracked me open in the first instance. I've done many more things since then, but like was like my initial cracking open, and I see it crack people open all the time. And even when I give myself breathwork sessions now, like I can give myself like a full 45-minute breathwork session, and still I feel not as much as I used to because there's been so many shifts since then, but I still go in, like I can still feel in my body like all the things that need removing and the purging and the things that need to be released. And yeah, it's really beautiful. I'm actually currently giving my partner breathwork sessions.
I
He's
love
been
that.
asking me, we've been together like almost 3 years, and he's been asking me since the beginning to give him breathwork sessions.
Oh,
And
that's
and
awesome.
it's so funny because I've been really resistant to doing it for a really long time, even though I know it will actually help both him and
Mhm.
therefore us. Um, and I remember my breathwork facilitator, like the one that taught me um in my breathwork training, she was like, whenever you're with a partner, make sure you give them at least 10 breathwork sessions to know if they're the right person for you. And, like help them. But I think, because he's given me so many healing sessions over the time that we've been together in his shamanic practice, he's given me so many shamanic body works and medicine ceremonies, and we've sat in ceremony together so many times. Um, and I think this was like part of the story for me was like, with ex-boyfriends always being like the mother, always being like the one to take care of them emotionally and financially, in fact, in every aspect. I was always a kind of like the rescuer. And so I suppose this
Mhm.
time I was like, I don't want to be that role. I don't want to be a therapist. I don't want to be the rescuer. And he's, I'm not asking you to be my therapist or my rescue. I can totally do it myself. I'm asking you to help me because then it will help us. I've got this on
Mhm.
my own, but it would be really nice if you help me. And I was like, okay, so if I can just drop the narrative of like what it used
Yeah.
to be with other people and you're coming at it from an empowered place, let's do it. And I gave him, we've had 3 sessions now, but I gave him one a couple of weeks ago and we're due on this week. And he was just like, wow, it's like changed me in that like so much released for him. We released so much trauma, so many things, and it was beautiful. And like, yeah, I don't know why I've held back for this long.
Yeah, I'm like, that's amazing that he's asking you. That's so great. I feel like for my husband, the way I've gotten to lead breathwork sessions for him is in my when I was learning to become a facilitator, I would need to practice on someone. So I'd be like, hey, you're the only person here. Like, can I lead sessions for you? And so he would let me then, which was really amazing. But he hasn't really asked since. But maybe after this, I'll bring it up too. Like,
Maybe.
you ready for another one?
Maybe. So, one question I always like to ask my guests, and I'm going to ask you too, is what does being a liberated woman mean to you?
Me, like being completely free, just fully owning who you are and allowing yourself to fully express in whatever way you feel, whether that's you just want to scream or you want to like make an animal sound or be angry or just, allowing you to really be you. Like, I feel like that is the ultimate definition of liberation. I think as women in society, in so many societies in the world, we're so repressed in that way. Like, we are told we have to act a certain way. We have to be the good girl. We have to, put on this whole mask in society. And, that's been like a huge piece of my own journey is like discovering that that's not actually what a woman is or how we have to be. And so I think for me, like a liberated woman is truly just owning who you are and like really allowing yourself to express in whatever way you choose and not caring what anyone else thinks, just really being true to you. And like that would be the definition of true liberation for me.
Beautiful. Aho. Thank you so much, Ashley, for coming onto the podcast and for sharing about your journey and your journey to liberation and what it means for you and how you've created this incredible life that you've created for yourself. And I'm sure you're going to be a massive inspiration to a lot of people that are listening. I will add your Instagram link to the show notes. So if people want to reach out or follow your journey or see what you do, they can reach out to you there. And of course, we'll share it on our stories and spread the love so people can hear each other. And please do share this with people this episode, because the more people, the more women we can help to liberate on their journey, the better. We're just here to support each other for all of our liberation, because when we liberate ourselves, we liberate our ancestors, we liberate our future generations, we liberate everyone in our lineage and all those yet to come. So we're doing it for them as well as for ourselves. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
For those of you that are listening, thank you so much again for tuning into another episode of the Liberated Woman podcast. I do not take it for granted that you listen to this, that you share it, that you spread the news, that you send me messages with how much you appreciate the journeys and the stories that we're sharing on here. So please do tag us on Instagram at _ShaniBella. If you're listening to Ashley and you want to tag her, please tag her so that we can really just encourage as many women as possible to live a liberated life and live the life that they feels truthful for them. And everyone has their own truth. So wishing you a beautiful, beautiful, magical day. Aho.